Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Stoic Plays. Tonight, I have got a treat for you. We are playing an early beta of the game Polaris Sector. Now, this game is developed by SoftWarWare, which is a gentleman by the name of Vladimir Ufnarovsky, which is actually a very cool-sounding name. And it is produced by Slitherine. And for those of you who follow my channel, you will know Slitherine. They are the producers of such games that I have shown on this channel as Pandora, Ravenmark, The Scourge of Extelion, and Distant Worlds. Polaris Sector is a 4X space game. And from what I've seen so far, just in reading about it and playing around with it, what appears to make it different from other 4X games are that it's going to have a very interesting diplomacy and espionage system. So I look forward to seeing how that turns out. This is, of course, an early beta, which I have kindly been given permission to show. So obviously you cannot expect that all of the systems are in place, and I have to make that very clear to you. If you're watching this video expecting a release-level game, you will undoubtedly be disappointed. However, I would like you to look at it as an early beta game and see the potential for what is to come. And another reason why I think it's good to do things like this is because it's almost like a recorded beta test. So if they're interested, perhaps the developer could look at this and follow my thought process and see how an average gamer such as myself would play the game and perhaps learn from that. Before I start, there are some disclaimers, okay? First of all, this game is going to have numerous races. However, in this early beta, there will only be one race that we can play with. There will also be external threats added to the game. Now, that sounds kind of mysterious, but how I interpret it is there will be creatures or things from outside of the galaxy of the game that will come in and cause a ruckus. My personal vote is for Space Mongols. So, developer, if you're watching, Space Mongols. Can't beat them. Definitely Space Mongols. Also, there will be random findings. Not entirely sure what that means. That might have to do with technology research. Like you might stumble upon a world and there might be something there that boosts your research or does other things. I'm not entirely sure, but there is more to come certainly in that arena. And finally, there will be more graphics and more info. Some of the items you see here in this early beta, once again, are placeholders. So with that out of the way, let us explore Polaris Sector. Now the tutorial is not ready yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and start with a new game. Now the first thing you get to do is you get to design your galaxy, and there are a number of choices. There's the elliptical galaxy, which is what we are going to be playing, but there are also different variations. This is a galaxy where your race starts off in its own segment, and I guess meet in the middle with the other races. There is the endless space looking rectangular galaxy, which immediately I felt comfortable with, but it says up here that it's a tough map to play on because danger can come from any direction. And of course, there are various types of spiral galaxies. Cool thing about spiral galaxies, of course, is if you are here, let's say, you have a very easy homeland to defend. However, you also don't have a lot of expansion opportunity, whereas if you start here, you have an absolute plethora of expansion opportunities, but you can also be attacked from any side. Choices, folks, but we are going to go with a elliptical galaxy. There are numerous races. You can have up to, let's see, 900 stars, but we're going to stay with, actually we'll even go lower just to make it run faster. We'll go with 200 stars, or 195 is fine. Tunnels density, I presume that means the number of wormholes or pathways from one star to another. 3D shape. Not entirely sure what that does. 40% sounds good to me. and shape aspect ratio? Don't know. Different victory settings. Victory by domination. Everyone knows that. You just kill everything and let God sort it out. There's also external threats that can be turned on and off, and pirate attacks that can be turned on and off. In Endless Space, I always turned off the pirates, but we'll see. They might be really interesting and awesome pirates in this game. For the early beta, there was only the normal or moderate AI. All right, so this is our race. They are called Vagalars, and they are adorable little koala bear people. Yes. Who's a cute little space explorer? You are. Yes, you are. And they apparently... This leaves a little bit to the imagination, but either they're a koala that is 6 feet tall, or they are a koala who has 6 feet. The first time I read it, I interpreted it as a koala with 6 feet, but it probably makes more sense to think of them as koalas that are 6 feet tall. And just by looking at them, you can tell that they are the peaceful race. It is impossible to meet a more peaceful race in the galaxy than they are. However, despite being so incredibly peaceful, the military fleet of the Vagalars is formidable enough and dangerous for offenders. Performance of vendetta, even in space scale, is not considered by the Vagalars a senseless murder, but it's a highly spiritual process of rooting out evil. So you can think of them as peaceful, 6 foot tall koala, I don't know, Italians, who are the people that have vendettas, like the Italian city-states, right? In Renaissance Italy, where you've got the Florence people fighting with the Milan people and so on and so forth in the families. You can, of course, customize the race. I won't be doing so. But there are different things that you can edit, such as the upkeep cost of fleets, how much food they eat, how fast they produce things, how fast they research things, how efficient they are at mining. Looking at these cute little hands, I presume they are not very efficient at all. How fast their population grows, the general happiness of the population, the morale, I presume, of your defensive forces, the assimilation of alien races. They are very high at this. Koalas enjoy getting people from other races and putting them in zoos. I'm just making that up. They probably don't do that. And espionage. Apparently, 6 foot tall koala bears are not masters of spycraft. James Bond, these fellows are not. Trade. And then you can choose to be an aquatic race and live on a radioactive world if you so choose. And these things cost points or give you points. They start with the technology of biological alloys. And we can add one. Well, or we can't. Eventually, we will be able to. So let's get started. Let's get it started. What? With our space koalas. Alright, so we are starting in the system of Enka. And our main planet is the Holy Pit. I believe that is always the name of these furry little fellows' home planet, because every time I've started this game, that's been what it is. The system always changes, but the planet remains the same. The system also contains Enka II and the third, a frozen and gas giant planet, respectively, neither of which can be colonized. Now, these planets, as you can see, have resources. And you can actually click on the planet, and it will tell you what those resources are. We have metals, plutonium, ooh, bombs, baby, bombs, and organics. And it'll also tell you what type of technology you need to colonize this planet. And it also talks a little bit about the planet itself. For example, cold planets are very far from any stars. That makes perfect sense to me. Sometimes they have large reserves of water hidden under a multi-kilometer layer of ice, but most often they are as lifeless as stones. That's very prejudiced against stones. I've known some stones that are full of life. And then we have the economic screen, which talks about all of your mineral deposits and the production rates of such things. Also the consumption, upkeep, and trade and tribute, and as a result, what you end up with. What I like about this, right off the bat, is that this screen expands or contracts depending on the size of the territory you've explored. So for example, if we go from Enka to another star system, the next time I pull up this screen, it will show it all. Gives you some basic data about your planet and how many you've colonized, and apparently here there's a slider that can reduce or increase your working hours. So, just like in real life, the more you work, the less happy you become, and the less you work, the more happy you become. Unless you're not working at all, in which case you're either unhappily unemployed or a bum. Just kidding, all of you 7.9 million people in America who currently do not have jobs that are looking for them. Oh yeah, good. Already off on the right foot. So, the one thing that you need to keep really good track on, I have found, is fuel. Because if you run out of fuel, you're stuck. You are stuck in a system where there are no colonizable planets, and all 1,000 people sitting on this freighter, this colonizer, are just going to have to figure out how to get along without ever moving anywhere else. Which, as you can presume, is not the best scenario to be in. But before we start playing around, let's look at one last thing, which is our actual homeworld. This is the beautiful Holy Pit, which we don't have to call the Holy Pit. We can call it anything. We can call it Aurelia, capital city of the Aurelians. Get it? Because Marcus Aurelius. Yes, you get it. Okay, good. And on this planet, you can do numerous things. You can build, buildings, like civilization type things, or you can build ships. Now, this is our home planet, however, and it is fully developed. As you can see, it has 29 farms, which are producing organics. So I presume that's what this is. You can hover over it. Food, yes. Then we have science and production, the basic building blocks of interstellar society. In addition to that, we have orbital production, gravitonium, radium, and metals, organics, and plutonium. So as you can see, these little fellows here are producing an equal amount of metals, organics, and plutonium, it appears. And slightly less gravitonium, and substantially less radium. And this is what they are consuming. Right now they're consuming nothing but food. And these are our explored mineral deposits. And that's that. Again, it's early beta. I don't really know what all of these things do and how they interact with one another. That will obviously come soon. But for right now, what does this say? Oh, okay, so you can submit these cute little furry koalas to population control. So the Aurelian one-child policy, I suppose. But right now, what we really want to do is we want to build... So you can build a building, if you would like. That's a beautiful research center. And right now, that's really all I can build. But I'm not going to do that. We can learn about it, though. A research center conducts research. You don't say. In all possible areas of science while carrying out experimental design and development tasks. But we're not going to build that. Instead, we are going to build a ship. Now we have a tanker, scout, a troop carrier, a carrier, a colonizer, a strike corvette, which looks pretty awesome, and a X-fighter, which is not to be confused with an X-wing, which is proprietary, and just forget I said that. But I am going to build a scout, and it's going to take 18 years to build. Koala unions. Oy. Alright, next thing I want to do is I want to move the game speed up a little bit. This is a real-time with pause game, so you can move at certain rates, and then by clicking the little arrow there, you can move faster. Or actually start moving to begin with. Marines. Why, Mr. Koala? You look very manlike. Again, this is probably due to graphical resources being shared right now amongst different nations while they're working on that. But we have Marines, heavy armored infantry, tanks, ground attack aircraft, fighter aircraft, and military boats. Neat. Initiatives. Utopia, curtailed workday, augmented workday, and an extra bonus project. Okay, build ships, we've already seen that. Or we can upgrade ships. Interesting. We can upgrade our colonizer to a tanker. We are not going to be doing that, but if we so choose, that is something we can do. And right now our policy is balanced. We can micromanage the planet's economy fully. Very nice. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would enjoy that. I'm not one of those people. We can focus on agricultural. We could focus on innovation, industrialization, mineral extraction, I suppose, and balanced. I like balanced. I also like innovation. Innovation leads to research, which leads to new technologies, which leads to being better at everything, but we're going to stay with balanced for right now. It's not going to have any effect on this showcase because we're not going to get that far into the game. And of course there are charts. But because we haven't started playing yet, they are currently not charting anything. Okay. So here's our colonizer. The first thing you'll notice is that while it is full of fuel, it has no colonists. And that will make colonizing difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to board colonists. Hooray! We can unboard them too if we choose, which would probably annoy them since they just made the effort to get onto the ship. And we can fly the safe route or the shortest route between 2 points. We're going to go with shortest. So let's check out Beta Phoenix. And you right-click to move. Yep, you sure do. Oh, right. Marcus, fool. Turn the game on. Okay, so we have reached our destination at Beta Phoenix, as you can read here. And we can look at it. There is a volcanic, a hot, and an exhausted dwarf. I'm familiar with exhausted dwarfs in Anvil Quested. See what I did just there? I plugged one of my series. Cross-branding. It's a thing. However, there is nothing here that we can colonize. Our fuel is at 12,000. We obviously don't want it to get below 7,000 because if it does, we can't go home again. Alright, so we are now at Arrakis. Arrakis. Where have I heard that before? I don't know, man. The koala spice must flow. So, Arrakis. Desert planet. Dune. Okay. Which also has black stuff and silver stuff. Organics and metals. But we need an atmospheric dome. Alright, well as you can see, we are lower on fuel, so we're going to head back to Anka. And we are now full of fuel. Let's go check out Kochab. And we're there. Let's take a look. A hot and another desert planet. Well, we apparently are in the hot part of the universe. Alright, it will take 1,674 tons of fuel. That's fine. And Polaris. Woohoo! This is the first colonizable planet that I've actually found. That's awesome. I love it. Polaris. Plan colonization, we could do that. Let's see. We can build oceanic platforms, production, mining, and research. Because this is an oceanic planet. It's a world of endless water, except for this portion of not water here. And it has amazing weather events, such as superstorms, that extend for hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and the exotic marine cappuccino, a spontaneously appearing foam covering huge areas of the ocean. I think that just means the ocean's having a good time. Okay. In the atmosphere of these planets, or the atmosphere of these planets, is suitable for oxygen-breathing races. The main difficulty when colonizing an oceanic planet is the rarity of dry land, or in some cases, the complete lack of it. For this reason, building floating platforms becomes a necessity. Mineral extraction is very limited. That makes sense, because most of the resources are hidden deeply underwater. However, on such planets, it is possible to develop very efficient agricultural systems when using the necessary technologies. Also, oceanic planets are ideal for the construction of research facilities. And I dig research. So this is my first time, folks. This is my first time colonizing a planet. You get to watch me do it. Let's have a good time. And we're going to innovate. This is a research planet. Colonization is planned. Hooray, hooray. Is there anything I can do to speed that up? Maybe go to my ship and say colonize? Yeah. Lovely. In innovation, yeah. I would like to innovate. So we currently have a production of 2,400 food and 0.5 production. We're consuming 1,000 food. So that means we have a surplus of 1,400 food because I took math. And we have explored some organics, and we have a research opportunity of 1, which I thought would be better since we're innovative and this is a research-friendly planet. We currently have a colonial module, which makes sense. See if we can build something. An organic plant. A factory. We don't have enough population for that. We don't have enough population for a research center. But we do have enough population for a floating platform. And it will only take 4 years to build, as opposed to the 13 years that it will take to build an organic plant. If you get nothing from this Let's Play, by all means get that these koala people are very slow when it comes to building things. Could you imagine if it took 13 years just to build a farm or whatnot? Whatever. Actually, yeah, it produces organics, so I assume that means things you can eat. Oh, look, there's a moon. And it's what do moons do? You know, elliptical pattern. Circling the planet is what. Yes, that's what the moons do. Just 2 moons. 2 moons. 2 moons over Omni. Okay. Let's build that floating platform. And you are no longer Omni. You are now... Come on. Ah. You are now Miami. Why? Because there are moons over Miami. Get it? Anyway. Alright, so we're working on this. We got a thing coming. A couple of years it'll be ready to go. And our colonists have found a new home. So let's take a look now. Oh, by the way, I believe that this outline here is our sphere of influence, area of effect. And if we go back to the economics, it has grown, you see. We now have Polaris and Anka, or the planets of Aurelia and Miami. Great. So now it looks like all we need to do is wait until our scout is ready. So let's speed up. Oh, no, stop. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Research. I have not talked about research, and research is actually one of the most interesting and innovative things in this game. So, the way research works in Polaris Sector is that you have 4 fundamental sciences: biology, chemistry, mathematics, and physics. And they lead to discovering applied sciences. And then by researching different applied sciences, you then get technologies. Like, for example, automation comes out of none of these. Well, I guess it... Oh, yes, it comes out of mathematics. I guess it only draws a line to the things you have not yet discovered that it will get to, but it comes out of mathematics. See automation. And so we have automation, and it leads to, as we study it, enhanced tungsten armor, which will be completed in 85 years of research, gravity resonance tanks, medium armed turrets, and so on and so forth. So you first pick the fundamental science you want to research in. You can do all equally, or you can just focus on chemistry if you really like chemistry, or if you really like math, you can focus on math. And that will lead to, in this case, the discovery of these applied sciences, which then, once you have discovered them, will lead to technologies. And you can, of course, focus more on theory, focus more on application, and that will change how quickly you research things, but it will slow down your fundamental growth of knowledge. At least this is what I understand. I could be completely wrong. But it seems like that's the way it works. Now, if you look at something here, like, say, xenobiology, right, which we are not yet privy to, you can click on it and it'll tell you it requires biology research of 52. And you can also set it as a priority, so it becomes a big deal. And that will set biological science as a priority, as you can see here. But I don't want to do that because it means we're not studying anything else. So let's just set it as kind of a priority. Excellent. And apparently it also makes the slider all the way down to 100% fundamental science. However, if we want to say, instead, if we want to get a frigate as soon as possible, we could set that as a priority. And as you can see, it changes everything to focus on the acquisition of a frigate. So you could, if you so choose, rather than look at the macro picture and adjust your sliders for what you're going for, you could pick one or two technologies that you really, really want as soon as possible, click Make a Priority, and the game will determine what you need to do to get there. So I'm really excited about this tech system. I think it's... 4X games aren't very innovative in general because the genre has been well tread so often. So any type of innovation, any type of doing things a little bit differently really makes me happy. And I think they're trying very hard in this instance to make the tech selection process a bit more organic and also interesting. So we're going to wait and see, before we end the episode, if our scout ever gets built. Okay, a year has passed. Our floating platform is 3 years away from completion. I feel like I'm wasting time here. Like I feel like there's other things I should be doing in these 3 years besides just sitting on my butt, but this is, again, early beta, and so right now I don't think there's much more I can do besides wait for our little koala friends to build their floating platform with their apparently poorly suited little koala hands. Oh, there we go. Let's go to a more reasonable speed here. And Anka now has a scout. And it doesn't appear to be an auto scout button, but that's just fine. I like manually scouting as much as the next guy. And we have introduced a new sphere of research, Island of Stability. Island of Stability. Island of Stability, huh? Ooh, no. Let's go back to that here. The development of the technology of low-energy synthesis of stable super-heavy G elements, the study of the physicochemical properties of the resulting elements and compounds, as well as the creation of materials and devices based on these elements. That's all very well and good. I just want to know where it is. Like where are you, Island of Stability? Are you a this thing? Or are you a this thing? Island of Stability. It looks like it's one of these guys, because it has that colorful icon. Island of Stability. Oh, here we go. Already researched. Island of... Hey, light arm turret, no. Island of Stability. Okay, there it is. I'm not entirely sure how we research this, since I'm focusing, as we saw earlier, on... Was it frigates? I'm focusing on something. And, either way, we apparently learned it, which is great. And our science has improved quite a bit from when we first started this series. Or not series, this showcase. Let's go check out Misam. And, oh man, look at this. A beautiful, sexy, colonizable Earth-like planet. Or really, theoretically, since these little koala people have never actually seen or heard of Earth, it should be an Aurelian-like planet. With all tons of resources that koalas need to reproduce and thrive. So, there we go. Well, that's okay, because the koalas down here in Polaris get to swim a lot. And that's cool, right? They get to, a lot of beaches. Well, not a lot of beaches, but relative to other types of land, I guess, a relative lot of beaches. So yeah, vacation, qualification. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's Polaris Sector, and there's a lot more to it, I am sure. And again, this is an early beta. They are just submitting it out to beta testers, so it'll be a while yet before this game is ready to be played by the general public, and of course, much more will be added. I will, of course, keep an eye on it and the progress, and you would not be amiss in thinking there will likely be additional videos down the line as new features are introduced and as I learn what I'm doing. So once again, I am Marcus Aurelius. Thank you so much for watching this, and thank you also to Slitherine for allowing me to beta test it on my YouTube channel. Have a good one.